Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This week's reading blog is again based on my TBR that I chose for the month of April. Along with 4 fantasies, which was my previous reading blog, I also chose 4 thriller mystery books. So I thought I would read thrillers and mysteries for a week and take you guys along for the ride. So the first book chosen is The Escape Room by Megan Goldin. I have talked about her books before. I love them. I read The Night Swim and Dark Corners by her, and I loved them both. And I found this on Book Outlet, The Escape Room, and I immediately added to cart. So this is pretty basic synopsis. It's about an escape room gone wrong. So it becomes real rather than a fictional game. So this sounds like it could be absolutely terrifying, but I'm very excited for it. Then I will be reading Stephen King's Billy Summers. This is more along the lines of a mystery adventure kind of novel. And basically Billy Summers is like a hitman, and he only goes after like people that truly deserve it. And he's kind of getting to the point in his life where he's older and he can't be doing this much longer. So he takes on like one final hit that's going to be the end all be all. He's going to make him a lot of money, but things aren't quite what they seem. So we'll see. I've heard great things about this. It's another book, kind of like Fairy Tale by Stephen King, that I read last month, that if you're not really into horror, this is a good Stephen King book to start with. The next book is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. This is about a journalist who is uncovering secrets at a boarding school where her sister was killed. I can't remember how many years prior, but her sister was killed prior there, and now they're renovating the school and they're finding things that are uncovering parts of that mystery. So this sounds like it could be thriller mystery, but I've never read a Simone St. James book, so I'm very excited to read those. I see her books everywhere, but I've never read one, so this will be my first. I think all of these books I got on Book Outlet, actually, so it's a Book Outlet blog, too. And then finally, I have Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. This is more horror thriller. So this is about an orphanage, a boys' orphanage. And one night, this group of men come to the orphanage, and one of them is like fatally injured, and he has like occult symbols all over him, and his death sets off like a chain of weird events within the orphanage. So that's all I know about this. If you watched my TBR video, you'll know that I didn't actually buy this book. It was sent to me by Book Outlet, I think by mistake, but it still sounded interesting that I kept it, and I am actually kind of looking forward to reading it. We'll see. This will be my first horror outside of Stephen King. So those are the 4 books I'm going to read this week, starting with Escape Room. And I'm going to start that this evening. It is actually Tuesday. I'm starting this a little later in the week, but I will not probably read enough tonight to be able to update until tomorrow. So I will talk to you all tomorrow evening. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Halfway through the week, even though this week has been dragging. I'm about halfway through, I think just under halfway through, The Escape Room by Megan Goldin, and I'm loving this book. So we go back and forth between The Escape Room and that scenario, and then it goes back in time and we're following a specific person. So clearly the escape room's going to be connected to this person, and we're gonna figure out why. But it is like very interesting. I just wanna know what these people did, and we haven't got there yet. Because clearly this is some like type of, I would say probably like a revenge plot. That's like the vibe it's giving. I don't know what they did to, well, like a true thriller, it starts off with the end and then shoots you back into the time of the incident, the escape room, and then the time where you're meeting like who I would consider the main character and how she came to know these people. So far so good. I've only read 2 other Megan Goldin books, but I've loved them both, so I'm not surprised that I'm enjoying this. But I'm gonna read a little more, and I'll update you guys probably again tonight, and then hopefully finish this up by tomorrow. But we'll see. I have 56 pages left of this, so I'm probably gonna finish it in the morning. And then the next book I have to read is Billy Summers by Stephen King. So I'm not sure if I'll get that started at work tomorrow at lunchtime, or if I'll just wait until tomorrow evening to start it. But this is so good. Like, disturbing, but very good, and like a different premise than like any other thriller I've read. So I'm enjoying it, but I'm in a good place to stop right now before we really start like unraveling everything. So I will talk to you all tomorrow. Hey everyone, it is Thursday evening. I ended up finishing The Escape Room before work today. This book was so good. I didn't expect it to be anything less than great because I have loved both of the Megan Golden books and now all 3 of the Megan Golden books that I have read. So I'm gonna have to see if she has any other on her backlist. I'm not 100% sure. But the ending, it kind of unfolds in a way that you like know what's gonna happen, but the way that it's all tied together at the end and like the actual secrets and things that come out, it was just perfect. I loved it. So what did I think? I think I gave this a 4-star. Yeah, 4 stars. Then I started and did not get very far. I think I'm 1 chapter in, so 12 pages in, to Billy Summers. This is a guy that is in, I want to say he said he was in his 40s, and he's basically like a hitman that goes after bad people, and he wants to retire, and he gets this offer to do like 1 more hit, and it's for a lot of money, and basically like if he takes it, he can for sure retire. But he, in the back of his mind, says, that's what everybody says is like 1 more hit, and something bad always happens. So that's like all that I really know at this point, because the first chapter was just kind of them offering him the hit. That's all I know. It is reading a little different than like a normal Stephen King, but this is like the first mystery. I want to say it's the first mystery. I don't know if the Bill Hodges series is considered mystery or if it's considered like horror thriller. I'm not sure. But this is reading more like a full mystery novel. So I'm sure that it'll get very Stephen King-y at some point. But so far, 1 chapter in, it's going great. So I'm going to read a little bit before bed tonight and then continue on tomorrow. And I will let you guys know once I get home tomorrow where I am and how I'm feeling. So it is now Friday night. It's kind of late for me, but I read a little bit more Billy Summers today at work. I haven't really been moving through this book too fast, which isn't unusual for me for a Stephen King book, but I'm going to try to get a good chunk of this done today so that I can stay on track for finishing the books I want to this week. I may not, I don't know. It depends on how much I get read this weekend because I got a few other things going on. So far, this is moving a little slow, but it is building the story still. I'm only about 125 pages in, and it is like a 500-page book. So I'm hoping it'll pick up at some point. Some of his books do start off very slow, and you have to hit that like 30-40% mark to really be in it. So hoping that happens tonight before I go to bed so that when I get up tomorrow, I'll be more excited to pick this up. Right now, it is definitely starting out as one of his slower books, but I'm still intrigued. I'll get to reading. So I'm just under 200. I think I've read like 60 pages, 70 pages since we last spoke. I'm on chapter 11, which is 185 pages in. And things picked up like real quick after I said it was slow. But where we are in the book now, things are happening faster than I had anticipated, considering that it's a 500-page book. So I don't know what's going to happen for the rest of the book. But it is picking up now. I am excited to continue going. I'll probably try to get at least another like 50 pages or so read tonight, because that'll put me pretty close to halfway through. It's definitely, I want to pick it up now, so we're at that point. But we'll see where it goes from here, because like I said, it went from being like really slow to really fast to the point where now I'm like, what are the next 300 pages going to be? I will update you all tomorrow. Probably not first thing in the morning. I'll probably read a little bit more tomorrow before I update again. Definitely getting better. So it's Saturday morning. It's 11 o'clock now, but I had a lot of stuff to do this morning. So both my headlights went out, so I had to go get those replaced. So I went there to Walmart first thing this morning because they were like the only place in the area that had the headlights that I needed in stock. So while I was waiting, I did some shopping and I bought 3 books. I will have a book haul video coming at some point because I've been accumulating a bunch of books this month, and then because I haven't bought any books until April. So once the end of April hits, I'll do a collective book haul, because then I'm not buying books again probably till August. while I was waiting for my car to be done, I was shopping and then I read a little bit, and then I wanted to go to Barnes & Noble, but I had to kill about an hour once I got there, so I went, got breakfast, and read again. And now I've got about a little bit less than 200 pages left of this, so I probably won't update again until I'm done. So this isn't what I expected it to be. I don't know. I guess I should have expected it because kind of says what it is on the back, but Billy Summers is like a Marine veteran, so part of this book was him writing a book as like a cover for something, but then he ends up writing the book. Throughout the book, he truly ends up writing one. So you're reading the story that's going on, and then the book that he's writing, which is also like things that happened to him in Afghanistan. So I'm assuming this is all gonna like tie in together at some point, but I'm still not exactly sure. It went a different direction than I thought it was gonna go. But I'm interested. Like, obviously, I'm reading it faster now. I think once I get into his books, I start to read them faster. I read them slow at the beginning when I'm not like 100% sure what's going on, or just the world building's too much for me. I'm enjoying it right now because you are getting the back and forth much more now than you were at the beginning. So don't really know where it's gonna go, but the next time I see you, I'll have it done and I'll have more thoughts on how I thought it ends. But then I went to Barnes & Noble and I walked in and I saw a sign that said it was triple stamp day for premium members. So I bought 6 books there. So this haul just got a lot bigger than it was supposed to be. But I'm going on vacation in about a week and I'm going to buy books down there because I always buy books from the bookstores down there. So once I come back, I will do the book haul, which will be the end of the month. And you'll see that. And everything I bought today in that. But I'll see you guys in a few hours when I finish this book. Well, this book ended a lot differently than I was expecting, and I didn't love the ending. I'm not going to say why because I don't want to ruin anything, but I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed the book. It got like so good. The second half of the book was so good, and the way that it was written was like unique. Like I said, he was going back and forth between the actual story and then Billy Summers writing his like life story essentially. So the way that that was done was really interesting and unique, and I enjoyed how it tied up at the end. But I didn't love the ending. So I think this is going to be like a 3.75 for me because I really liked the story. I liked where it went. I didn't like the ending. So that's done. The next book I'm going to read is The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. So this is about a journalist whose sister was killed 20 years ago at this like school. And while this school is doing like renovations of one of their halls, they find something that is linked to the loss of her sister. I'm assuming she investigates or gets involved and tries to figure out what actually happened. But this will be my first Simone St. James book. I am excited to finally try her books. I haven't heard too much about her, but I've read a few synopsi of her books, and they all sound really interesting. So I got this one off of Book Outlet, so I thought it was like good to try because if I don't like it, I didn't pay like full price for it or anything. So I will touch base once I've read some and know what it's about. Hi everyone, it's now Sunday morning, mid-morning, and I've read a third of this book, so I'm at like page 105 in The Broken Girls. And I am enjoying this a lot. It's reading pretty quickly, most thrillers do, but essentially what we have is a girl who's investigating, I don't know how to describe this. So we've got like 3 things going on essentially. We're going back in time to 1950 to the girls that were at this school at that point. Idlewild Hall is the name of the school, and we're following a group of girls that were going to the school at that time. The book opens with like one of them, you don't know which one, being like chased through the woods, and then it goes back to like their time there. And then we come to present time, which is like 2014, and we're following this girl who's a journalist, and she's dating, I don't know if he's the sheriff or he's just like the son of the ex-sheriff or whatever, but he's a cop in the town, and her sister was murdered on the grounds of those schools, like that school like 20 years prior. And she's still not over it because she still thinks that the right person may not have been put behind bars, or like she wants to know how he did it. I'm not exactly sure what she's looking for, but as she's kind of like dwelling on her sister's death, because I think it was like her sister's birthday when we first meet her, she sees that they're going to be restoring that school. And she gets upset about it, and she starts to investigate the family that's doing it and what's going on with that. And while she's there, they find something when they're excavating the outside that could potentially be linked to her sister's murder. So that's where we are. We're following like essentially 3-ish different stories, but 2 timelines. And it's fascinating. I like the way it's being done. And it's keeping me on my toes because I don't know what to expect next or what's going on with the whole group of people in general. So I'm gonna try to get through this pretty quickly this morning because I do want to start at least the 4th book for this vlog today. I don't know that I'll finish it today, but I'd like to at least start it. So I will update either further along or when I finish, depending on how fast I sit down and read this. So I just finished The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. This book was really good. I was not expecting to feel a connection with the characters in this as much as I did, and like be invested in their stories and what's happening in their life as much as I was invested in like what was going on in this story, maybe because it was such a personal story to the main character. But I really loved it. I felt like I was reading something a lot more personal with this than a normal thriller would give me, or mystery. I think this is actually considered a mystery. Very much enjoyed this. I ended up giving it 4 stars. I will definitely be trying to pick up another Simone St. James book at some point because I did love the way that she wrote this and the way that she actually did make me feel strong feelings and actually care about these characters and how the story was going to end. Highly recommend if you like a good mystery. It was the way that she wove everything together. I wasn't expecting it to go in the direction that it did either, and I think that's why I liked it so much. I did kind of anticipate one of the things that happened. Not necessarily in the way that it did, but there was a character in here that like gave me bad feelings pretty early on, and I was right about them being part of the problem, I guess I should say. But I didn't guess the rest of it, so that was also key. So the final book I'm gonna read in this vlog and hopefully finish up, if not today, early tomorrow, is Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. And this is about a group of orphans who answer the door one night, and there's this like group of guys there that one of them's fatally injured and bad things just start happening. That's pretty much all I know. I think this is considered like horror thriller. Horror, definitely. So the person blurbed on the front is the author of Don't Fear the Reaper. So I have a feeling this is gonna lean more towards horror, but I'm interested. I'm a little bit over thrillers. I really shouldn't do all these thrillers in a week. This is the 2nd time I've done this, and it does start to like weigh on me because I cannot wait to do my next vlog, which you'll see because it's a lot later. But this is my final one for this vlog, and I will come back once I've read some of it. And as we know, we don't read hardbacks with the dust jacket. First update on Boys in the Valley. I don't really know what to say. It's basically what I had already said. It's the early 1900s in this orphanage farm in Pennsylvania, and it's boys only, run by priests. So these kids, because they're all like 15 or younger, I think, because the book opens with like, I guess our main character and like how he came to be an orphan. And he's one of the oldest in math on how old he says he was versus the time. He's like 15. We've got all these like younger boys that work on this farm to basically be able to like feed themselves, and they go to church and they have class and, you know, religious orphanage. There's three priests and one guy that they call a brother who's like actually like an ex-convict that work there. And obviously, like, I don't know if this is obvious, but like they mistreat the boys, and the kids are just basically trying to survive until they're old enough to leave. So one night, and this place is like out in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere really close by that they can get food or anything from. There's a farm, but it's like a good distance away, and this is the early 1900s, so not easy to get anywhere. So they go to this farm when they need stuff, but like I said, middle of nowhere. There's one night where someone's like banging on the door, and it ends up being like the sheriff, and he has a prisoner that is like mortally wounded, and he ends up bringing this guy in, and I don't really want to talk about like what happens from there. Okay, no, I can. Okay, so he was part of like an occult, and they sacrificed this girl, and he had all these like occult signs like cut into his skin. So they try to like, exorcise the demon from him, and that ends up like releasing this evil that's spreading through the orphanage. And I can say that because it's on the flap. So I'm basically to the point now where you're starting to suspect the boys that are acting weird that are probably the ones that are going to first be affected by this evil spirit. And that's literally where I am. It's written in third person, so it's kind of hard to understand who you're following all the time, because it's going between like, it'll talk about like the one priest at one point, and then it goes back to the little boy, the young boy. So it's a little difficult to follow at times, but I mean, you get it once you start reading a few sentences, but it's interesting. Not a book that I probably would have, I didn't intentionally buy this. I've told that story before, but I don't hate it. And it's only like 320 pages, 330 pages. So it's only going to take me a few hours to read. And I'm about a third of the way through. I'm like right around page 100. So I have a few things I want to get done tonight because it is Sunday night. So I have things to get ready for tomorrow when I go back to work. But I'm hoping to finish this. I'm not going to finish this tonight. So I'm hoping to finish this tomorrow, which is okay because I did start this vlog a little later in the week. I will hopefully, I know I will finish this tomorrow. I don't know how much reading I'll get done at work, but I'll do my best to finish this pretty early in the evening so that I can move on to the next vlog I want to film before vacation. It is now Monday. I've been having weird dreams because I need to stop reading multiple thrillers in a week, and this one especially. This isn't even a thriller, this is a horror book. And the storms kept me up last night too, so I just got really crappy sleep. But I have about 120 pages left of Boys in the Valley. This book is bizarre. Not something I would have picked for myself. I don't not like it. Obviously, I'm still gonna finish it. But it is something. I would say like paranormal horror. I wouldn't call it just like realistic horror without trying to give anything away. Like without giving anything away, I wouldn't call it like realistic horror. I feel like it's a storyline that's like been there, done that, but like there's a little bit of a twist on it. So I don't know how much to like truly say, because I think like the book blurb makes it clear that like there's like an ancient evil that's spreading sickness. So there is like I don't want to like give anything away here. So I'm going to be very careful about how I say this. It's definitely different. And is different writing style than Stephen King for sure, which is the only other horror author I really have any experience with. So I don't know what to say. I'm reading it. It's a book. It's giving me weird thoughts, but I'm going to finish it. So I will continue this, finish this tonight, and then I will come back and close out the vlog. Okay, so it's time to wrap this vlog up. I read 4 thriller mystery horror books this week. They weren't technically all thrillers. And I'm just going to go through them and my final thoughts on them, and say that I probably will not be doing another thrillers for a week vlog for a very long time because my brain, there's just something about it. Fantasy is like draining, but there's something about reading like not scary books, but like psychological books that many in a row that quickly. That's just not good for my brain. But the first book I read was The Escape Room by Megan Goldin. I loved this book. I've loved every Megan Goldin book I've read. There was one I saw at Barnes & Noble this weekend, though, that I read the synopsis on, and I was a little disturbed just by that, so I did not pick it up. Not sure if I'll ever read that one. I can't remember what it was called. I'll see if I can find it and put it here. But this is about essentially an escape room gone wrong, but there's a lot more to it. You follow Sarah, who is, I guess, your main character, and then 4 of her co-workers who are stuck in the escape room. And the whole thing just kind of unravels in a way where you're like following her in the past and then them in the present until the story converges into one and you find out what is going on exactly. It was good. It definitely was an interesting way to look at a timeline for a book. I gave this a 4 stars. Highly recommend if you want a good thriller, if you want a quick, fast-paced thriller. This one went really fast, so highly recommend. The second book was Billy Summers by Stephen King. This was also a similar kind of timeline, but done in a little bit of a different way. You're following Billy Summers on this job that he was hired for. He's a hitman, essentially. He kills bad people, and he wants to retire, but he's going to take one last hit because it's going to give him basically a ton of money and all the money he's going to need to live comfortably. But this whole time, he's like, it's always, in the stories you always read about, though it's the last one, and then something always goes wrong. So that's in the back of his mind the whole time. And essentially, this does not go to plan, the final job that he takes on. So the whole time you're reading his story, you're also getting his background in a way like that he was writing a book about it, because that was part of his cover. But then he decided to just continue writing the book as himself. So it was interesting to learn his past and some things about him in that way. And similar to The Escape Room, that part of the book eventually aligned with present time in his story. I loved this storyline. I loved everything about it except the ending. I did not like the ending. So this was a 3.75, and that was purely because I got really angry at the end. Still a very interesting book, and definitely different for me for Stephen King. It was not very horror-esque. It was definitely more mystery thriller. Then I read The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. This is about a journalist who is still stuck on her sister's murder from 20 years prior. It opens like on her sister's birthday, and she's in the area where her sister's body was found. And it's this old school that's been abandoned for years. And along with that timeline, there's also 50 years before. This takes place in like 2014, and then I think it was like 19, so 64 years before, it was 1950. You're following girls that went to the school at that time, this group of girls, and every time you go back to that time frame, it's like one of the 4 girls' perspectives. They were roommates there. And you eventually find that there was another murder that was from that time frame that is discovered in the 2014 time. And they do connect, and the whole storylines do eventually connect. And the way that they do it was really unique, and I did not see it coming. She did get me at the end on this. There were things that you got as the story went along, but there were quite a few things I did not see coming in this. It was a very interesting way to tell the story, and I think I said this earlier when I was talking about it, but I actually connected with the main characters in this book. So you really follow Fiona, Fee, they call her, and her boyfriend, who is a cop. And cops and journalists aren't supposed to date because they're technically enemies. But you follow them throughout this whole thing too, and I really, really loved them and felt for them and wanted to know about them, not just the story. And that doesn't happen to me a lot in like mysteries or thrillers. So definitely will pick up another Simone St. James book if that's how her books always are. But this was I think I already said this, but this was a 4-star as well. And then I finished out with Boys in the Valley by Philip Fracassi. This was considered a horror book. And like I said, it was horror, paranormal horror, not like realistic horror. So, some people think the paranormal is considered real, but this was a little bit further than that. So it was like unrealistic horror without saying too much about it. It's about these group of orphaned boys that are at this orphanage in Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere that's like a religious orphanage because it's run by priests. And one night the sheriff shows up with like a prisoner that is mortally injured. He's got like occult symbols on him, and there's this whole thing about where they found him and what was going on, and it was like basically occult demonic stuff. And his death sets off a chain of reaction of a lot of bad things at the orphanage because of the occult demon spirits. So definitely weird. I gave this a 3-star. I didn't hate it, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. I obviously don't read a lot of horror, but it wasn't like it was gross. Nothing really bothered me. It was just bizarre and not what I was expecting. But it's at the same time, it was a book and I read it. I don't have strong feelings one way or another on it. So those are the 4 books I read this week. It was a decent week. I don't typically rate thrillers above a 4-star. It would take a lot for me to rate a thriller above that. So the fact that I had 2 4-stars this week is phenomenal for this genre. So successful week, I think. If you've made it this far in the video, thanks for watching. This really is just kind of my way of coping with stress in my life, is reading these books and giving my opinions and just talking to them even though I'm talking to a camera. Just getting my thoughts out about them and then being able to interact with everybody that follows me or watches my videos is really what helps me just kind of stay sane. So thank you so much for watching. If you're here, if you're new, if you have continued to watch my videos, I appreciate it. So that's all I have to say about these books, and I will hopefully see you all in the next video.